everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Remcast. I'm so glad you're with us tonight. Primal here coming at you from Southeast Florida. You know where it all happens. And it is my pleasure to have my friend Slope with us tonight from Columbus, Ohio. Recently installed Presidente up in Columbus, man. So congratulations on that, bro.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how you doing?
Doing well. It's been a busy spring already, and looking forward to next few weeks. I think we got something going on almost every weekend, it seems like.
Nice. So, man, typically, you know how we do things. So just going to ask a bunch of questions and just kind of get to know each other a little bit. Now, I know the story behind your name, and I'll get to that, your road name, and I'll get to that in a minute, bro. That's got to be one of the best stories I've ever heard. But first of all, man, tell me how you got hooked up with the club. I know you and I have talked about this personally. I think we were at, what was that, Denny's up in Zanesville? Was that the name of that little?
Yeah, a little restaurant, a little diner. Yeah, it's a Denny's, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me how you got hooked up with the club, man.
So we ended up going with another one of actually Slow-Mo and myself and my son and his son went to a Easy Rider motorcycle show here in Columbus. They were having a motorcycle show and happened to Slow-Mo was like, "Oh, I want you to meet somebody." And it was at that time it was Johnny, and who was with the Columbus crew at that time. And so we met them, but then we met the rest of the guys, the rest of the Columbus crew. I think Eclipse might have been there and a few others. And we met them, and I thought they were pretty cool and stuff like that. And we went on and looked at the motorcycles, and then said goodbye to everybody and stuff like that. And I think they were running the coat check at that time because that was in the middle of, I think, in January or something like that. And then we got invited to we did a breakfast out at a Der Dutchman restaurant, and Shaggy and Wiley and I think Johnny and others were there. And actually that was Tater, myself, and Slow-Mo and a few others were there with them, and kind of had to sit down. They talked with us a little bit about brotherhood and what the club was about. And I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. And so I did some hanging. We hung around through that summer. I didn't jump in real quick. Tater was like, yeah, this is what I want. And he jumped in right away. And so I kind of did some hanging around. We went to some different events through the summer. Went to when Tater got patched in, went to that event and saw him get patched in, and just kept coming back, kept hanging around with them, kept doing stuff. And then went that next year, about a year later, went to Vision in Pittsburgh. So that would have been the 2018, I think it was, Vision. And I came out of that, and I sat down, I talked with some of the guys, I pulled a couple of the guys aside and asked them why they were in the club, and really started, I was like, okay, man, is this something that I really want to be a part of or not? And that was the year that, the message was, it's God first, then, your family and church, and then, work in the club and all that come afterwards. And I was like, this is something that I could really become a part of. And I had been, looking at what God wanted me to do in my life at that point in time. And I told him I had a lot of opportunities of different ministries and different things to be a part of.
Right.
And I said, God, I don't know where you want me to start closing doors, shutting windows, keep the one open that you want me to go through. And this was the one that I just had this pull towards, and I decided to walk through that door and haven't turned around since.
Very cool. So what do you think was the kicker? The one thing that maybe kept you thinking, I kind of like this, but still not too sure.
The thing that I really liked about it was just that, it was about Christ. It was about Jesus. It was about ministering to those that typically society says, oh, they're not worth ministering to.
Right.
And I'm like, God, that's, I want to be a part of that. I want to be, I want to come in and be your servant with the rest of these guys. and I saw a servant attitude. I didn't see as you look at the club, there is a servant mentality that is part of this, and I'm like, that's something I can get behind, um, and that's what kept me coming back.
Nice, nice. Well, man, I know I just spent a little time with you guys in Zanesville last year, and coming back again this year, as a matter of fact. Pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
And I just, man, right away I could tell you guys just had a really cool vibe going on as a chapter. It was cool to see, and it was cool to watch how you interacted with each other. Man, just the closeness, the way you guys rode together. Um, it was just really cool, very evident. So it's really cool to have you on tonight, man. I've been looking forward to this. So how long are we talking about here? You patched in 3 years ago then.
Yeah, it'll be 3 years. Yeah, it was summer of 18
Okay.
at the gathering of that summer.
In Conneaut.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. So um, that kind of time in and now we got to talk about the road name, man. I mean,
Actually, let me take it back. It was not 18 because it was 18 when I started hanging around.
okay.
Okay. So it would have been 19, so 2 years.
Okay. Okay.
And I was full. Sorry.
All right, so let's talk about the road name, bro. Because I got to be honest with you, I was talking with Guns last night, so and we all have a story behind, and sometimes you can just kind of hear the name and go, oh yeah, I get that, right? I understand that, and the story behind your name just kind of caught me off guard because it was so funny, and I ain't trying to mess with you, man, but it was such a great story. I'm gonna have to ask you to tell that story.
So I had just gotten patched in, and I mean, one of the first things was I was coming down from. I had my bike was up at Conneaut there in the middle of those trees, and it had been raining all night. That was the first episode, and I'm coming down on that gradual slope down where it gets gravel, and I'm coming down, and all of a sudden my bike just boom slides out from underneath me, and I'm just like, okay, get it back up. I'm good. I keep going, get out. And I think I was doing a ride or going somewhere with it. So I was like, okay, I can deal with that. Well, on the way home, so same event, but on the way home, we stop at a place just south, I think, of Mansfield, Ohio, off of 71 for lunch, and we're up there, and it's on top of a hill. Uh, we went and grabbed some food, and we're getting ready to leave, and we're coming down a little service road, and come to a stop sign, and of course there has to be traffic coming, so you can't, and it's a dead end the other way, but there's traffic coming from another restaurant, so we have to stop. Well, I'm in second gear, and I'm like, I want to put it back into first gear, so I go to put my right foot down, and there's no ground there because it's again on a slope, and you know my bike just and it's a road glide ultra, and it's packed down with everything on, so it's top heavy to begin with,
Right.
and I'm just all of a sudden, Tater's behind me, and he's like, just sees me dropping over into the weeds because there's like just this, a gutter and stuff right there, and I just go down again. So that is where I got my name. I had some difficulty stopping on a slope, and so that's where I got my name. Unfortunately, I think it's happened one other time since then that I can recall, where I was doing a sharp turn again on a slope and came to a stop in the middle of the turn, and I'm just like, oh man, quit living up to my name.
That's a great story, man. And again, I ain't messing with you. It's just interesting to get to the bottom of road names because sometimes they come up in odd places that nobody knows.
They do.
And then you got to
Well,
ask
and
yourself.
I'll have to say, I was a math teacher also, so a slope in mathematics does have a meaning, and so it fit that aspect of me too, but it wasn't for that.
So that's the perfect segue, man. So tell me what you do.
So after I went going to high school, went to a Baptist college up here in Ohio, called Cedarville, and
I know a guy that used to be the
after
music.
that, met my wife there.
Okay.
So yep, and so then I started teaching in Dayton City school system and taught mathematics to middle school and high school students for about 13 years. Then my wife prayed the prayer of Jabez, that my territory would be increased. And I literally, within about a week after my wife prayed that prayer, I got a call from the State Department of Education asking if I'd come to work for them.
Oh, wow.
And so I knew it was, and I didn't know she had prayed this. But I talked with her, and she told me that she had prayed this and felt like it was God's leading. So I took that position, and I've been there for about 20 years now in different roles. I'm in the curriculum and not in assessment anymore, just curriculum and instruction area. Um, I've got about 32 years in education, so I got about
Wow.
another year and I can retire. But we'll see what I do then. But yeah, that's what I've been doing for quite a while. I'm in education, love teaching. Um, and my teaching now is more with adults and teachers than it is with students, but it's still helping them understand and learn.
Very cool, man. So I would say there needs to be a conversation that happens between you and Little S. Eventually, man, he's got big vision for Christian education with RSOC. Have you guys talked yet?
Yeah. Yeah, we did a little bit. I want to say it's been a while, but we
Okay.
did we have a couple times, yes.
Okay. Cool. Very cool. So, man, I was trying to get that in a few minutes ago. Like, I served with a guy. I'm trying to remember his name now. I was youth pastor at a church in Pensacola. Um, and he left there as worship pastor and went on to be the head of the music department at Cedarville back in the day. And I'm trying to remember, I can't remember that brother's name. I see his face; it's as plain as day. But there's all kind of music folks that I've met throughout my ministry life that have come out of Cedarville.
Yeah,
Lot of,
their music program is really big,
yeah.
surprisingly.
Okay. All right. So, man, you got 2 years in, and tell me about your family.
So I was married for 28 years before my wife passed from breast cancer and metastatic cancer about 4 years ago. So that was a big changing point. I have three children though. I have a my oldest is going to be 26 here in another couple weeks. I have a son who is just turned 25. I should take that back. She'll be 27. I got to get my kid's age right, you know. She'll be 27. Um, but and I have then my youngest daughter will be 22 on the 22nd this next month or next
Nice.
week. So
Nice.
unfortunately, I'll be in the Outer Banks for her birthday, so I'm taking her out this weekend for her birthday. So,
Very cool.
but
Very cool.
but the son and the youngest daughter moved with everything going on in the world. They moved back into to back in home. So I went from an empty nest back to a half full nest. But
I hear you.
I also have two grandchildren. A little boy who's will be 10 and a little girl who is 4. I don't get to see them much because my son-in-law is in the Army and they're stationed in Hawaii. So I
Okay.
have gone to see them twice. So that was fun. I loved actually rented a motorcycle both times when I was over there and did some riding around the island.
Oh,
So
very cool.
I was like, I cannot go to Hawaii and not ride around the island. So
Very
that was
cool.
fun. Very cool.
So, man, I'll obviously, it's like I told you, we typically don't plan out what we're going to talk about. But if I don't mind, I'd like to just ask you a couple of questions about the transition from being married that long to losing your wife.
It was an interesting. I don't know if interesting is the right word, but you know, when you go through a period of time, she was sick for about 5 years with cancer.
Okay.
Your whole life becomes focused on that person,
Sure.
and your whole being. And when she passed afterwards, and I went basically from having a house full to my youngest daughter went to culinary school over in Pennsylvania. My son was moved out soon after that as well, and so I was by myself. And so I was like, that's when I started seeking what God wanted me to do in my life,
Mm.
where He wanted me to focus on, and what was that um, mission or that focus that God wanted me to be doing.
Okay.
And I did a lot of praying, I did a lot of seeking, and just trying to figure that out. And like I said, God, you know, some very definite things in my life. I got, still involved with my local church and doing stuff there. But I felt like God was, leading me and closing a lot of different doors that I thought I might like.
Mm.
The interesting thing was that, I'm riding a motorcycle. I really didn't ride a motorcycle most of my life. Um, it was my wife a few years ago that told myself and told me and my son, why don't you guys go take a motorcycle class and get motorcycles?
Wow.
And I was like, okay,
Wow.
God, and I look back on that and I'm like, man, she had a connection with God that was like unbelievable. And, I still believe that it's because of her and telling me to get a motorcycle that I'm in this club and that God was leading me and preparing me for this.
Amen. That's a powerful word, brother. So, man, let me talk to you a little bit about like foundations of faith. What kind of age did you guys come together? As when you got married, were you both believers? Uh, uh, okay,
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we met in college at Cedarville
okay,
University. Okay. So I became I accepted Christ as my personal savior when I was 10. So that's been 47 years ago.
wow,
So I've been in the faith. There have been times where I've been probably stronger and closer to God. Times where I haven't. Where
sure,
I've kind of not walked away completely, but just kind of questioning times. But she came to the Lord young too, and went to a Christian high school, and then went to a Christian college, and that's where we met.
okay,
She was a neonatal intensive care nurse, and loved God, loved those little babies that she took care of. But we it was a good relationship, and our faith was always, there were different times where we had challenges in our faith.
right,
God would bring different things into our life, but we would fall back on God, and He would get us through it.
amen, amen. So, when you come to faith that early of an age, it usually is a sign of a pretty good legacy filled family in the faith. Is that the case with you guys?
Both my parents, yeah, both my parents were strong in faith. I mean, they took us to church regularly. Um, Unfortunately, looking back on it and finding out the history of my grandmother on my dad's side and my grandparents on my mom's side, uh, they all went to church, so there
Okay,
was the legacy of being in church and having that faith. And so yeah, there was that. Unfortunately, my parents ended up getting divorced right after I graduated from college.
mm,
Things happened when I moved out, and so that unfortunately that happened. But there's, afterwards I still talked with them about their faith, and I mean they still stayed strong in the Lord. Unfortunately, they just did not stay together.
sure, sure. Well, man, I think that one of the reasons I wanted to probe that is because uh, if I'm not mistaken, there's two of you guys that went through that in your chapter.
Yeah, yeah,
So you
yeah,
and you and Tater, you guys,
yeah.
did you guys bond over that pretty good?
We did. And I was, I don't want to say I was a couple years ahead of him, but I was. I had
Okay,
gone through it a couple years, so I had gone through it and got, I saw, you know, I knew I had hundreds of people praying for me, and when I was going through that, and I could feel it. And Tater and I have talked about it. He said, he knew people were praying for him too. But yeah, we've bonded over that. We get together regularly. We hang out. We ride a
cool,
lot.
very cool.
Um, you're gonna see Tater and I will probably be at a lot of the meets this year. We're going to the Outer Banks together. We're going to Baldwin. We're going to Tennessee,
Nice,
Gathering, Zanesville, rodeos, whatever. We'll probably, we we ride well together.
very cool, man. So tell me, I mean, that's a lot of stuff, bro. I mean, that's a heaviness about it, which most people don't know. Uh, what's happening in your faith now? Like, what would you say would be the thing that the Lord is like? Hey, listen up, bro. Uh, I want you to pay attention to this.
Um, I'd say there's a couple things. One is, uh, and part of it has to do with the responsibility of taking on the presidency for our chapter and um, you know, uh, doing the national historian piece, and we can talk more about that. But when all of that started coming, and God keeps bringing me back to the verse of that, or not so much the verse, but God uses ordinary men and women to do extraordinary things
Amen.
if they allow Him to. And you know, do I want to be that guy that lets God do something extraordinary through him. And that means, and that's kind of where I'm at right now in my life of, God, open my eyes so that I can see people and things the way you do.
Mm.
Um, because so many times I walk out of a situation or I walk away from something, and later on, God slaps me upside the head with a 2x4 and says, "You missed another one, Brian," or Slope. Uh, it's I don't see, sometimes I don't see the opportunity to step in as quickly as I would like to, and I want to get to that point where God just, he opens up that ministry or that opportunity to be his light, his salt, and his hands and his feet, and just to walk through that and be that, and
Right.
just let him lead through me. And so many times we think, oh, I don't, as even go after going through a Christian college, there's times where I'm like, I'm not adequate enough to speak God's word or something. And
Yeah.
you have to get over that and realize God's going to speak through you no matter what you say.
Mm.
If your intentions is true and for him.
Amen. That's a good word. That's a good word. Even after all these years of being a Christian, I think we need to remain in that one spot. And I'm thinking as you're talking, I can't remember who said it, but kind of a famous quote: "The world has not yet seen what God could do through one man, fully and wholly submitted to Him."
Mm.
Even after all the big daddies who have come through, the world has not yet seen. Uh, Man,
Man,
what a
I
what a
agree.
testimony and a self awareness that even after a long time, man, people when filled with the Holy Spirit and looking to serve and know God and be known by God, that He still desires those things. That's a good word. That's a good word, man. So thanks for sharing that, man. I know sometimes that can be a difficult thing, but thanks for being willing to kind of
No,
walk down that little street there.
no problem.
So I do know that back in about a month ago, 2 months ago, you guys were in Zanesville for some cool things. Had a couple of appointments. Tell me about yours, man.
So I know it all started on I in unofficially. Les had talked with me this last, I want to say it was August time period, and asked if I would consider taking on the national historian position. And because Pickles was stepping down from that and retiring out of that role, and he was looking for somebody that he thought would pick that up and run with it. And somehow he came to my name. And so I thought about it, and I was like, well, I with that educational point of view of looking at things and my current role and a lot of things that I do, I like history, even though I wasn't a history teacher. I like history, and I like to understand it and delve into things and create things and do things. So after some long prayer and thought about it and saying, okay, yeah, God's going to take an ordinary person, and hopefully I can do some extraordinary things through him with that position as well. Told Les, yeah, I would, and then we made it official in Zanesville, and so have taken on that national historian position and trying to got the boxes and the different materials from Pickles this last fall, and started going through them and looking at what we have and what we don't have and trying to understand it. I've read the history of how our club came together a couple times now, and because I want to get to the point where if somebody would ask me, well, how did we come? I know Les came on and he did the first one. The first one of these Remcasts, I believe.
Yep. Well,
And
little
talked
less
it.
did little less did first, and then less. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. They talked about that history. They
Yeah.
talked about how, Les talked about how how it came together. And I've had an opportunity to read that in print as well, and kind of go through that. And it's like, it's good to know where our club came from, and to know that history of, well, why are we called Remnant Sons, and why does he have the knighting ceremony?
Mm.
What is that all about? And having that understanding. So, that's one of the things and I think that was one of the things Les mentioned to me, is he says, I want our members, our patches, to understand where we came from and what we are about and why we're about it. And so that's, I was like, okay, let's work on that. Let's figure out
Mm.
how to do that. So
Okay.
the Remcast was one of them, and so hopefully we can get some other aspects so that people can see what is our history. You know,
It's good. It's good to be able to look back on that and have that thought, bro. Because early on, the history of the guys that started doing the rodeos, for example, like I patched in with these guys from the other club, and we're telling them, and that's what drew me into the other thing, the stories. It was the stories of how they rolled up on a rodeo and didn't have nothing. They borrowed folding chairs from people and sleeping under things that they had. It was just stories that were just fascinating to me, and I thought, man, I got to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that. And it was just really cool to see. And now to see that, man, we got almost, I think, right at 11 years now that we're talking about being a club, and the expansion that's happened, and how every situation that we've been through, how it grows, how God's bringing in leaders like yourself, and I was going to say young leaders, but we're the same age, so we're not really young anymore. Guns was telling me the last one I interviewed, he was talking about the young guys, and I thought, holy crap, man.
yeah,
I've definitely crossed over, but it's cool to be able to look back and to be able to say, man, we got time enough in now we can talk about our history, and there's a place where all the stuff is gathered. So, and I know we talked about this briefly, man, but anything you need from me, like video stuff, let me know.
we'll do.
I got them all
And that's
like scattered all over the place.
yeah. And I'll say that one of the things I'm trying to do is kind of I again, being a school teacher, used to do yearbook in college, and I did yearbook in as at the school, helping out with that in the middle school. I almost want to almost create yearbooks
Hmm.
for each year of, so that we have the history, we have the photos, we have stories that went on. And so I want to encourage when we anybody to send me, if you're having, especially this year with the gauntlet going on,
Yeah,
I want picture, we're going to be seeing each other so much. I want those pictures, I want those stories, so we can capture them. If you write them down, or if you video them or whatever, so that we can put them in a place and like come back to it. Because I got thinking about, yeah, we don't want to live in our past, but we need to know it. And you think about even the children of Israel, they used to build altars of remembrance when they would travel. When they were going through the wilderness and coming over to Jericho, they built an altar of remembrance of their time in the wilderness. And so remembering that, yes, just send those pictures to me, send messages, send whatever you want, and I'm thinking of it more, not so much as each chapter, but as we think nationally, because I can't, there's no way for me to keep track of what each chapter does independently.
right, right.
But as we're doing the gauntlet, as we're doing the rodeos, as we're doing the gathering, any of these bigger events, but the gauntlet's going to include those chapter things going on too. When a chapter visits another chapter, get that picture, send it to me.
Sure.
We'll get it in there, just get names and stuff so that I can make sure that I get everything labeled right too. But
And
you know,
do you have any like a Dropbox or a Google Drive kind of thing?
I do have a Google Drive.
Okay.
I will put that out there too.
Okay.
That's a good idea. I'll get the Google Drive up, and
That's a lot
uh
more storage because some of these videos get kind of big and they won't be able to get them
yep.
on email. But I think
Yeah,
with
no,
the
I do,
pics and
and I think I
everything,
probably have a Dropbox as well, but I haven't used it. I can't remember what my password on that one is. You get old and you forget. So, but yeah, no, I want to have some different mechanisms for
Cool.
doing that. I know I have a YouTube channel that's hidden pretty much because I just have some things that from past things that I've put on there. So I may open that up too, so we can drop things in there. But yeah, I want to start pulling and getting some of this stuff together so we have it and we can, and then find a way to share it so that people can come and look at it and say, oh wow, kind of, how you used to do. You'd flip through those old yearbooks once in a while, and you're like,
Heck yeah,
oh
man.
wow, I remember when I did that.
Heck yeah.
So I want that to be the case where we start, able to flip through this. Whether I make a physical hard copy of some of the stuff, I might do that and bring it to some of the events and let people look at things at Vision or whatever.
Yeah, man, and I mean,
But
we obviously don't spend a whole lot of time on our website per se. It's just an informational thing. But I mean, we could, if we're talking about a bunch of pics, doing a slideshow and throwing some,
Mhm.
uh, Metallica behind it. Ain't nothing to that. That's just as easy. And it used to be a hard work.
Yeah.
It's nothing to it now. There's programs you
Oh,
can
I
just
know.
zap it in there. But man, we can make that available on the website, even on the private group or the Facebook page, which is where a lot of our traffic is nowadays. But yeah, man, we'll make sure that we kind of get connected with some of that and make sure that we can make some of that happen sometime this summer. Yeah, that'd be good. That's a good deal. Yeah. So let me ask
That's
you this,
great.
man. So you got a couple years in, and you've been now you're nominated to national office, and now all of a sudden you're chapter president. All this stuff happened in the last few months. Tell me what's going on in your mind about how you feel about the present state. Now, I know it's going to feel like I'm putting you on the spot, but I ask everybody this question. Like the present state of the club. I mean, what really kind of gets you excited now about the way things are?
I think our club is and the club and the chapter. Let me start with the club. I think I look at what's going on with the club and just the we're adding a lot of people to it, and I'm excited about this gauntlet because I think it's going to bring us together as brothers in ways that we haven't had the opportunity maybe to, because it's not going to be. I love the rodeos because I love going and working with the brothers on
Right.
the track and helping out, and the time we spend in the in the tents and in the camp area and stuff like that, and ministering to those around us. But I'm excited about what is going on. I think God is doing something special within our club as a whole right now, that it's exciting to be a part of, and that I'm hoping to, like I said, with being the national, I want to capture some of that excitement,
Right.
hopefully, and right. I wish we could capture it and bottle it up so that we could show everybody later on. Our chapter specifically, I'm excited about our chapter too. We have a couple young guys in our chapter, and I say young, I mean, a couple of my kids are older than one of them, so
Are we talking
they are
about?
young. They're
Are
my,
we
I
talking
call them
about
our kids. We call them our kids.
who? Which one of them just
Um,
had a baby, man? Who? Which one was that? Paul? Did Paul?
that was Buckshot.
Buckshot. Okay.
Yeah, and but Gnome, who's not much older than him, a little bit, but not much older. They just adopted a little boy that they had been fostering for about a year.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
really cool too.
That's cool because
Um,
I was able to pray over them in Zanesville about that, man. That was pretty cool. That was really pretty cool. Uh, so yeah, that's good, man. So you got a pretty good vibe going on about not only the club nationally, but on the local gig too.
yeah,
That's a good word.
yeah, yeah. We enjoy getting together. A lot of times we'll have matter of fact, Saturday we are all going to come over here to my place and do some lunch or something like that. But we got some guys that are sick and not feeling well, bronchitis and a few other things. So we're going to postpone it because I don't want to get sick before I go to the Outer Banks. So we're going to postpone that. But we get together regularly. We get together often. We if you saw Bus's pictures from this last weekend,
Yep.
Friday night they said they were going to get together at 7 in the morning, about an hour from me, and I said, okay, why not? So I jumped on my bike, met three of them over there, and we headed down 2.5 hours south of us down into West Virginia to go get hot dogs.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I mean, it's getting together, it's riding, it's fellowshipping together. Um, So that's some of the cool stuff that is going on within our chapter. But then there's a desire though also um, to reach the motorcycle community around us. That same afternoon, we went to an event, kind of east of here, and um, we. Sorry, my son's leaving for work. He works third shift at the airport.
Oh, nice.
But you know, met up with went to an event that had other bikers and motorcycle clubs, and so it was a we got to talk with and meet some other guys, and so I think there's this desire to just to be servants and to get together and be brothers and do stuff together for the Lord.
Okay. So, having said all that, man, what was something that you think that you've experienced since you've been with the club that has surprised you the most?
I think just the um, as we get together as a club, and we go to different events and we just get there, and you we're brothers in Christ,
Hmm.
and that is we're just it doesn't matter what your background is, what you've done, you ride and you're part of this brotherhood that is just so different, and we accept each other, we love each other, we're there for each other, we got each other's back. That creed that we say when we're patching people in, I mean, it is true.
Hmm.
It's true. We're there for you, and it's a great group of guys.
That's good, man. And I tell you why I keep asking that question to everybody that comes in, because I mean we got some guys that have been here since day one, right? And things have changed, man. There's a cool vibe in the thing now, and there's a lot of us that have kind of seen it come and go. I stepped away for a little while because of life and busyness and all that kind of stuff. But the cool thing is to talk to the guys who've only got a year, 6 months, a year, 2 years in, that still feel the vibe. The vibe is still strong. The desire to be with guys and develop those relationships that are going to long outlast whatever we do. Right.
Yeah.
I typically tell somebody who's prospecting and I get a chance to talk to him is like, odds are that within 3 to 5 years, you're not going to be here. If we look at odds now,
Yeah.
obviously we want to beat the odds, but if we look at numbers that have come and gone since our inception, we, uh, um, either if you make it past 3, get up to 5, you're going to be with us. It's that kind of thing. You found the
Mhm.
groove. You understand that you got to step in, ease out, step in, that kind of thing to find your place in the whole thing. Uh, but in the meantime, leave your mark, because if you do leave, you want to leave with a reputation of having stepped into brotherhood, stepped into relationships and discipleship, so that you knew that your time mattered. I mean, we're talking about it ain't like picking out a shirt that you're going to wear for the day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's some
Yep.
difficult situations you find yourself in, and you gotta be able to stand in that and step into it. But if you carry yourself like you got some sense, you can see some things and experience some things that few people do. And I think that's attractive to a lot of guys if they would understand that. If you carry yourself like you got some sense, you can step into some things that very few people see and very few people experience. And I think offering that to a man in today's culture is very intoxicating. But you got to stick with it to see it happen. So,
And I'll say too is, as a club, there's probably not too many experiences that somebody else hasn't gone through.
right.
And so if you're going through something, you've lost a job, you lost a loved one, you're sick, whatever. There's somebody in our club that has gone through that will reach out to you and talk with you and just be there as a brother. That is what I mean. I look at it and I'm like, we're there for each other.
Right. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. So, I mean, obviously, yes, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What's been some of the ugly things that you think that you've seen in the last couple of years?
Oh, COVID. I
Dang.
mean, and I actually got sick in January. Was down for about a week or so with COVID. Came through it okay. Did not lose my. Everybody talks about losing their smell and taste. I never lost mine. So, although a lot of people say I never had any taste, but that's a good joke. I keep
It's
that
a
one on the
good
back
joke.
burner there. Uh, but no, I mean that has just it's done two different things. It's a it's attempted to kind of separate us, but at the same point, I think through video, through other things, through I mean, we still did quite a bit of writing. There's quite a bit of events last year for being somewhat shut down still in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
Got to see a lot of guys at different events. But you value that at the same point. So that's been a rough thing. Um, just I think that has to me that's been the strong, the roughest point over the last year. And it can get in and divide us if we're not careful.
Sure.
That's the one thing I've seen is there's we allow the things of this world to sometimes take precedence over our faith and our brotherhood in over Christ, and we
Mm.
allow those things to create wedges and devices between us. And it's like, okay, that's not the important thing. That's not important. That's going to be, this is all going to be gone at some point. And even if it's hanging around, it's not going to matter to most of us. And we're going to go on living for Christ. And that's it. That's
Amen.
what's important.
It's interesting that you say that because there's just been some things on my mind about this. Uh, I call those things civilian pursuits that Paul talks to Timothy about it. First Timothy, don't get tangled up in civilian
Yeah.
pursuits because the truth is there's all kind of things that can tangle us up. It could be anything from our view, and politics is one of those things that really has divided people, families, thought processes, and a lot of things. And COVID's one of them as well, man. I think uh, the way we look at it and the way we deal with it has sharply divided our country, and you can see that. You can see that along political lines, which to me is sad, but it's the reality of our day. But a civilian pursuit for a warrior, for somebody who's called to be on the front lines of something that is more about one thing than the other, uh, is simply a distraction or something that takes our attention away from the main goal, which is kingdom advancement. I mean,
Yep.
that's our goal. That's our as a
Amen.
Christian, as a club, to reach out and to share the gospel with people, to enlighten people, to be there as a ministry of presence, or not just to ourselves, but to the community around us, right? I mean, and those civilian pursuits, I think, are some of the easiest thing that trips us up, and we don't really understand that that's what it is. That entanglement has a view of like a vine growing around your leg as you're standing still. You're not advancing. You're not going forward. You're getting wrapped up in a vine, and it stops your movement. It hinders you from this point. So I like that. That's a good word, man. That's a good word. So what are you looking forward to the most? Let's just say in the next 6 months. It's a busy summer. A lot of stuff going on in the summer.
Um, hitting riding a lot. I'm looking forward to getting out and riding because, like I said, I'm trying to I want to be at everything if possible. Unfortunately, some weekends we have multiple things going on, but I think that's one of the big things. I want to see everybody. I'm still trying to figure out how I can come down and see you. Uh, ride down there, ride down to Florida, and one of my goals is to get down to. I saw Woody and some of those went down to Key West, and
Yeah.
I really would. That's one of those rides I would love to do with a bunch of brothers. Just roll into Key West, a dozen of us or more, and just have a good evening and ride back up. Just enjoy the sight, enjoy the time, and the trip that we're on to do that. And yeah, it's yeah, it is fun to run 90, 100 miles an hour, but that's one of those rides when you go through the Keys, you just want to go slow, enjoy the breeze and everything. But you know, and some of my brothers here will laugh because they know I like to roll at 80 to 90 sometimes too. Uh, on back curvy roads at that,
That's a
that's
bacteria in this club, my friend. Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard that a few times. I think Hurley has that issue too. Uh,
I'm telling you, man, the older I get, I'm trying to just keep up with these guys down here. My boy Punch
and that's yeah, and that's the thing too is like next week when we get ready to head to the Outer Banks, we're going to meet up with the Dayton crew down in Chile area, and then ride on home. So uh, my daughter just walked in, so son leaves, daughter comes home. So
well, cool, man. So I will tell you this about Woody and G came by, man, Wes has got a place about. I'm 2 hours south of Wes and Parks, and Punch is across the state 3 hours away. So we got this place surrounded. But
okay,
Woody and G came through, and we were all supposed to meet up and go to Daytona, but just some things happened that me and Punch weren't able to make it. But 275, that's the number from my house, and I live in Southeast Florida. 275 is how far the Key West is, and it's a good ride. Coming out is a little frustrating depending on what time you go down there because of the traffic, but it's 2-lane, baby. I mean, when you get south of Miami there, you get to Key Largo, 2-lane, and that's it.
yeah,
And that's all you're going to get.
yeah. I've been to the Keys once. My wife and I spent an anniversary down in Marathon at a place called Hawks Cay. Beautiful place.
Yeah.
But we spent some time. So I've never made it all the way down to Key West, and I didn't do it on a motorcycle. I was, in a cage, but that was fun. So plus I have so I'm not sure how close. I have a cousin who lives in Winter Haven.
Yeah, man,
And
that's about 2 hours north of me. No, well,
okay.
it's actually in dead central Florida.
Yep.
My mom lived there for a
So
really long time.
he rides. So I'm gonna try to grab him and have him ride with us
Cool.
if I get down that way. So come visit. So
Yeah, that's Crackerland, what I call up in Central Florida, man. That's where all the crackers are. I mean, just people have been there forever. I mean, nothing,
yep.
and what I mean, nothing has changed there but the wind in the last 50 years. Just old country people that just love Florida. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, well, listen, man, this has been a good conversation. I really appreciate you taking your time. I know I've been trying to get you to do this, and thanks for kind of setting it up. These are good opportunities for us to get to know each other, man, and kind of peel back a couple of layers. Obviously, the best time for us doing that, what we enjoy the most, is sitting around them campfires at events, which are always good. But I think situations like this, to where there's a little bit more probing opportunities, kind of helps everybody get an idea. And I think we're developing a good following. Seems like everybody's kind of digging what we're doing here. So, again, man, thanks for pitching in tonight. And I would say good luck to you, man. I've been message you. I've been praying for you about your appointment to the national thing, and looking forward to helping you out if you need anything with that, and also to as you lead the chapter. I can't think of a better guy to be in to serving in that position. So God bless you, bro.
Appreciate that. Thanks. Thank you.
So guys, we come to another end of another Remcast. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My man Sloat from Columbus, Ohio. Looking forward to seeing him and many of you in the coming weeks about all these events that we got going on. So thanks for hanging out with us at Remcast, and we will check you soon. See ya. Peace.
See ya.